Gabino, welcome, first of all, I would say. But today we have actually, I already said there's a bit of a setting where we're talking about a lots of things from your background, being an entrepreneur within the Hake Venture Studio, and also where you come from. But, like besides being an entrepreneur, you do many other things. Um, but before I start with asking you firing questions around startups and everything, and the horticulture scene and the challenges within it. If I put everything aside, who is the Gabino I have in front of me?
Well, you have a very conformistic person. Then that's probably sets the tone for the rest of the interview. So someone that never was content with what was having, moved around the world from the academic world. So where I did my PhD in Spain, mostly in health, and then I moved to Canada. It's about evolution, the origin of life, the adaptation of extreme organisms to the most challenging environments on Earth. That was very fascinating. But still, I was unfulfilled, I would say, academically speaking. And then I moved to the Netherlands and I started to work on plants, understanding how the plants actually work, the mechanisms that make a plant, and how it defends, how it thrives, how it is different from the rest of the organisms. I was fascinated with plants, and since then, to be honest, I'm fascinated with plants.
What was there like in that period? What was for you like a shocking discovery around plant growth or plant as organisms itself?
Very simple. I mean, you are in your sofa in the living room and you say, I want a beer. What do? You stand up, you go to the fridge, and actually you get a beer. The plants say, you know what? They grow a branch and goes to the fridge and get the beer. So that's shocking. So you have to think that they are one of the most the organisms that they live for a very, very long time here. They adapted extremely well without moving. You have a problem, and then you say, oh, fuck, I move. And then you go out. And you step out of the problem. A plant has to stay and has to deal with the problem. So talk about mindfulness, isn't it? They really have to deal with the now and the problem. And they have developed so many mechanisms. And we are still understanding how they work and how they interact. And how can we manipulate? So a strange, negative word there, but we try to enhance how the plants are actually thriving in the environments that we provide. And that's fascinating. And for example, one of the discoveries I did with plants that it was like, I was working with Ben Seres in the group there. They were able to grow plants where you have, the roots are coming there, the shoots are coming up. They were managing to actually make roots coming out of the tip of the plant. Where the shoots should come, the leaves should come, they managed to make roots coming out of that. So you could actually reprogram the whole structure of the plant in the way that you want. It's just a program. Like we don't humans, humans are basically developed in layers. We develop a layer of the arms, the legs, and we can change that. We do that. And we manipulate it. But in plants, those developmental programs, you can trigger them anytime you want. And that's why the plants are so fascinating. So it's not like you are defined, you cannot grow more arms. That's it. No. You are done. Okay? Plants can do it. Plants can decide for any moment to decide, okay, now comes a new branch. Now comes a new leaf. Oh, now comes a new root. And you can actually manipulate and you can reprogram those developmental stages. That I found fascinating. That it can be done. That I learned. And in that sense, I said, okay, plants is something that is the basis of the what we do, what we live upon. So yeah, I stayed into plants. But why I'm here? I mean, I'm here because academia was not enough. Again, now you see a theme here. I found
what was not enough in academia.
Yeah, I tried to do too many things, and in academia rewards certain behaviors, and I'm not one of them. And that's how it works. They want people that is focused and is able to, produce papers and get grants and have their own niche, in the sense of, okay, imagine that this is so you have a big circle that's the knowledge in humanity. You have to work in that little thing where you are the best guy over there, and then try to push the boundaries of knowledge. No, that's your job as a scientist. I thought that was too limited. I thought that there were so many things that can be done, so many connections, so many things. And now I found the academic world a little bit too narrow.
But that comes back maybe to your youth, where you're always like a curiosity guy.
I mean, I was a pain in the ass for the teachers, because I was asking the questions that they were very, very challenging. Let's put it like that. And that stays there. I mean, and that's a trait. It doesn't change through time. Actually, guess what? Because you remain very curious, you remain very inquisitive about it. And I found that in the academic world, that's incentivized in one way, curiosity. But nowadays, I think there is a lot in terms of everything is a little bit disturbed towards funding, towards survival, and the publications. And I found that world that I was not particularly appealed. So I moved to academia, from academia to the industry world, and there is no way back. Once you move from academia to the industry, you do not hear many people going back. And there is a reason for that. People think it's about money. Not at all. It's not that there is no more money. It's that suddenly what you do becomes applicable. It's something that is applied. It's something for the real world. And then you realize, okay, in academia, it's not that you're not doing something that could be applied, but that level of the feet on the ground and what you do makes sense and makes actually a difference. That's what you cannot change. That's when you say, okay, what I do matters. People actually do care about what I do. And you step out of your ivory tower of knowledge from the academia,
yes,
where you know a lot about things that maybe the origin of life, but it gives you wonderful conversations when you are in the dinners, the social dinners.
Very deep.
But nobody has benefit out of that, isn't it? So having said that, what you do in the industry world, it has to be applied. There's a different thresholds of usefulness and practicality, pragmatic, and that you get hooked to that. Then you see that what you do actually matters. And yeah, there's no way back. So I started with the corporate world. So I started as a CEO in a biotech company.
Yeah, so what was for you then the first time that you felt, okay, this is like tangible work?
Yeah, so I would say it was a gradual thing. So from purely academic, trying to solve things like the origin of life or the program or the reprogramming the developmental programs in plants, Arabidopsis. I started to work as the cluster leader in the applied bioinformatics here at the Wageningen University, where I was in charge of a group of people that were trying to connect with the industry and get projects together. Now they call the PPPs, all these private and public partnerships. I was leading several of them, and then I realized that that's the difference. You are talking to industry, and industry tells you, well, I mean, it's nice that you want to know all these things, but how do we make money with this? And that question at the beginning was like, why do you want to make money? And then now I get it. No, so this is the thing. So you have a filter here. It's not about money. It's how practical this is. It's how applicable this is going to be. How useful it's going to be for the farmer at the end of the day. And that started to change my mind. And then I learned from the talking to industry, and I said, okay, I really are more into that side than into the knowledge part. And then when I jumped from the Wageningen University, I became a CEO of a biotech company, Gene Twister, scouting technologies and actually trying to bring the best technology that is out there to help breeding companies to make new varieties. Fascinating. I learned a lot. I understood a lot of things, how the industry works. And then I moved as a business development director in Hudson River Biotechnology, a company that does gene editing. Same idea. How can you modify something in the plant to make the plant much more suitable for the market? So market driven. And that was my role over there. So as you can see, I was following some leads. like 2-3 years ago, I was infected by the startup virus. And it's a virus. It's something that when you are infected, you cannot.
How do you feel then?
It's a disease. It's a disease. I mean, I used to work for, my 8 hours and I was going home and then. But the startup virus is something that infects you in a way that you cannot stop thinking, you cannot stop doing things about it. It's a virus. It's really a disease.
But does it start with an idea or does it start with a problem?
That's the difference. It started with, I want to push this into market. And I had the painful and realization that that's not how it works. And this is a message for the rest of the startup people out here. It doesn't start with I am the boy with the toy. No, that's not how it works. How it works is that you need to understand that there is a problem, a real problem. You need to go to the greenhouses, to the fields, to understand what is the problem. So why people is going to pay money for something. And then once you get in love with the problem, and this is a recurrent topic here, you fall in love with the problem, then you try to find a solution. And then is when you can bring something that makes sense.
Yeah, and then the assumption cycle starts of testing and no.
Yeah, but comes first with the problem. And then when you talk to the people that actually are facing the problem, because that's the difference between a startup person and the guy, the farmer, let's say, at the end of the day. Do as a startup, as a founder, do you have any urgency? No, you don't. No, you don't. You do it for fun. You do it because of the hype of being in the startup community. It's nice. It's engaging. It is the thrill of survival. I mean, there is a lot of adrenaline rush and addiction into that. However, the guy that is on the other side, the farmer, actually, that's the one that's the urgency is there. He's the one facing, for example, I'm into biopesticides. When you talk to them and say, look, this year I will have no money. There will be no money for my crops because actually the whitefly has basically killed all my crop. That's when the urgency is about. Now you have a real problem with someone that actually is facing a problem. That's when you come into. He is looking for solutions. He's desperate to find solutions. And that's the difference. The difference is that the urgency comes from the market, and you need to fill that need with what you can bring. And then you start to ask the questions here. And this is the difference, is that you ask the questions to the guy with the urgency. What will be the solution that you will be able to pay money for? Okay, can you solve my whitefly problem? Sure, I can do that. How would you like that solution to be? Would like to be sustainable? Because then you find out that the farmer is not someone that is, that doesn't care about the environment. They do care about the environment, but they have to make a choice between should I protect my crop or should I protect the environment? I cannot have them both today. And then you tell them, hey, what would be the ideal solution? Well, the ideal solution will be have them both. Because it will be good for me, for my family, for my health, and at the same time, I need to have a profit. So can we have the best of both worlds? And they say, what tools do you have today? I don't have any. Now you have a problem. And that's when you come, okay, let's design that solution. Let's go to the drawing board and let's find the solution. And that's what I came with the idea.
So before I dive into the idea, right? When we start with the problem, talking about problems, what does the horticulture industry thinks is a problem but isn't?
That's a very good question again. And that's why I'm very happy to be at the HIC. At the HIC, I find out that they're bridging that gap, and I will tell you about the gap. There is a gap between what's needed and when the people in the startup scene think that is needed. There is a gap, okay? And there is a gap mostly driven by the toys with the boys with the toys. There is so many cool technologies out there, and I'm pretty sure that they can be implemented in the greenhouse. Sure. You see people with very amazing technologies, but are they actually solving a problem? No. And this is what also was my role now at the HIC, is to tell people the annoying questions like, are you sure that they're going to pay for this? How sure you are? I mean, have you talked to the people that actually is going to buy the stuff for you? Have you make the market analysis? Have you? And these are uncomfortable questions for people that comes, and this is maybe the main theme I found at the horticultural level. There is a lot of people with solutions with a tech background.
Mm-hmm.
They are nice only when you have defined the problem. Okay? But they come without knowing the problem. And sometimes they come even from a different field, thinking, because it worked, for example, in this industry, it's going to work in the horticulture. No, that's not how it works. Bring, first of all, the knowledge on the industry, and that's what the HIG is doing. Okay, what do we need? We actually need. And then we try to find the solution that actually meet that. And that I found that sometimes in the horticulture, you have a lot of buzz. There is a lot of buzzwords that they are coming now. I do not think that there will be in 5 years, we will forget about them.
What is one of those buzzwords?
I don't want to make that controversial, but let's say that there are now buzzwords that I hear about it, and I'm like, yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see about that, and because it's nice to see, but will be really implemented there, and I doubt it. I fully doubt. And not because, again, the technology is not good or the technology has no potential. I mean, I listen to the founders, this unquenching optimism that they have, and yes, if you listen to that, yeah, sure. But I don't listen to a farmer say, dying to try that technology. That doesn't happen like that. Adoption, which is at the end of the day what keeps you in the market or not, is not driven by the toy. Okay, it's driven by urgency and a need. And are you addressing that need? And that's the difference. That's what I'm trying to find as a difference.
So you had a problem, right? You said you were going to the drawing board, and I stopped you there. But what are you then gonna do at the drawing board? Like what at the HIC, you're also working on solutions,
Yes.
right? So what is then the next phase? You bring your problem and you go to the drawing board. What are essential steps to take next?
I mean, but that's exactly the point. Find a problem that people would like to pay money for, okay? And then in the drawing board, you say, okay, what elements my solution should have? And I come with a Buddhist concept here, which is the beginner's mind. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept.
No, I have to.
So the beginner's mind, the idea is that when you face a problem, you usually use your knowledge, your experience to narrow down to the solution of the problem. Okay, that's what you're trained for. Okay, and that's the common way of solving a problem. That's why you become so efficient to do things. But that way of operating basically prevents you to look for around solutions that could be, in different arenas that actually will contribute to the final solution. So the idea is in the Buddhism, they call it the beginner's mind. So the idea is that you basically remove these concepts you have, these pre-assumptions that you make, that they're going to solve the problem. Because remember, you are not the first ones trying to solve the problem. There's so many people out there trying to solve the problem. So why are you going to find that? And maybe sometimes, and this is what I'm encouraging here, is remove those assumptions, try to have a beginner's mind, and face the problem again. Go to the drawing board. And maybe, and this is the eureka moment that everybody would like to have, you find a solution that is maybe unique, and maybe you have, that's the seed of a unicorn startup.
That's the seed of a unicorn startup. That's a good quote there, actually. So we talk about innovations and in the first phase, but also what you know and I know is a lot of well-intended innovations, if it's in tomatoes, in the horti scene, or in strawberries, right? And they tend to break.
Break meaning?
Break meaning they will not make it in reality.
Sure.
And where do you think that may be the main point, or like, let's say, the main factor lay when these innovations break? Is it at the beginning?
Yeah,
we are talking about.
absolutely. I think that's what I consider the circus of the startups, which I think there's a lot of hype about startups nowadays. Innovation, it is a very nice word to talk about, but which business would you think that 92% of failure rate is a good business? That's the rate of startups that do not make it in the first 5 years. So something is fundamentally wrong, isn't it? I mean, 92. Okay, let's think
As
about
a scientist to look at it, yes.
I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, why? How can it? So the numbers tell you the story. There's something fundamentally wrong in the way that we are actually implementing innovation, and that's what I think it needs to be addressed. This is a challenge also for the system. You cannot entertain 92% of wrong ideas, and I'm talking wrong ideas, very broadly. What I'm saying is that why there are so many things that they never reach to market. Because the market actually is very selective about the ideas that will be translated and adopted. And that's why we don't emphasize enough. So at the beginning, it's painful to say, and this is what I am here in the HIC, for example. We get ideas, and you have to be, at the beginning, the one saying, no. Let's not waste more time to anybody else. And there's simple metrics that from the first pitch, you can say, look, that's not going to go anywhere.
Can we give an example?
I don't want to be controversial again with the people I know, but the question is that technology is that you look at them and say, who is your competition? Mm-hmm. Who is working on this environment with you? What problem are you facing? Or how much it will cost to the farmer to adopt your I mean, they're very simple questions.
Yeah.
At the beginning, without an answer. And we keep, thriving, these entrepreneurs into the how to pitch, how to raise money to the level that they can maybe get the first seed rounds. Okay, fair enough. That's a pitch thingy. Okay, fair enough. But none of them will make the market, or 92% will not make the market because they didn't ask themselves those questions at the beginning. They didn't have good answers. They had good guesses and they live with that. And the problems also are the VCs also do not vet enough this knowledge of the market from the entrepreneurs or from the founders. So it's a mix of goodwill, good intentions, and horrible execution. Okay, that's the scene, how I see it. So you have to have both things. Startups that are way more anchored in the problem and that the solution is actually something that the market needs. VCs should look for people that do understand the market that well. Having people tech-oriented telling you wonderful stories is uplifting, but it's useless.
That's why a venture studio is a perfect
solution. That's the perfect solution because then you see that you do not need to have in the same founders all that knowledge together. That's a utopia. And having that people doing all the things, that's very unique. That's why many actually VCs prioritize the team versus the idea.
Yes.
Which is something that if you think about it, is like, how can it be? Because actually what drives the company to the market, it has to do with the founders understanding the market, understanding the problem, and being able to offer a solution. And what they offer at the beginning probably has nothing to do with the final solution that comes to the market. But that pivoting also shows something about the mentality of the founder. So yeah, that's things need to evolve a little bit in this startup scene to make it way more useful. I'm not saying that it's not useful, but it could be way more useful. And let me quote something that when I was at the Mass Challenge in Switzerland. The first sentence that they have when you start there say, startups will change the world. Entrepreneurs will change the world. I believe that. Don't get me wrong. I believe that. I only say that the system right now, it is perverted, okay, into a business model that makes money, but do not bring innovation to market in a way that could do it. And I think it can be improved dramatically.
Now, that's I mean, you're challenging on a good side, right? So yeah, let's see. I would love to see that the percentage gets less of failure startups, right? And I know that the venture studio, I've seen also there's research on that there's a higher chance of succeeding because of the dynamics and the ecosystem that you already have brought together from different founders that are already,
Yeah.
pitching the ideas together, giving different minds on it, and challenging each other already at the beginning of
Yeah.
the stage, right?
Yeah.
Because imagine how normally a startup pathway comes is one guy or two or girls have an idea and they start working on it.
And now being an entrepreneur now, and I've been seasoned enough after talking to so many venture capitals and other people. I think the metaphor that I usually use is that many startups, many founders, I'm a father, of course, of two, is the father, the first time father that is in the hospital, and the baby, comes out of and then you have the guy, the doctor there, and saying, look at my baby, how beautiful my baby is. The doctor, who has already 7 today deliveries, is looking at the baby saying, yeah, it's another baby. It's as ugly as the other babies. But the father is like, look, it's so beautiful. Look at that. With all the fingers and all the toes and everything is fine. And you're like, and the doctor is looking at and the father and saying, look, I've seen many of these. It's like any other baby. How this baby makes money. And that's the question that as a startup founder, you do not ask yourself. You keep looking at the baby. You keep enjoying how beautiful the baby is, but that's not going to make it. Try to answer the question, how the baby is going to make it. How is it going to survive? And these are the questions that we get in love with the baby. And that's what the difficult part for someone like me is to tell you, your baby is as ugly as it can be. Can you make it survive in this environment? And that's the question, the tough questions that people need to ask themselves. And who is going to be that person? Who is going to, the killjoy, the party pooper? That's what you need. That's what you need. You need someone like that at the very beginning. That's very useful.
Yes. How did the venture studio then with all these founders challenge your assumptions?
Yeah, in the questions I was asking.
Yeah.
The questions I was asking, they asking me back, but then I was prepared for that. That's the other story. I'm not an experienced person now. I know how I can start. I do not start anything if I do not and I do not see that it is rooted in a problem, in a real problem. So I see many toys, and I only fell in love with the ones that I know there was a problem behind it, and that's how.
And you went basically, the main part is you really go to the field. So you have multiple talks with.
And that's, for example, when I was at the HIC, this is one of the things of being in the Netherlands. Being in the Netherlands, I mean, you guys, I'm not sure if you are familiar with this, but you know that you are in the Champions League of the agriculture. That's how it is. I mean, just
as we are living in it, it feels normality,
I mean,
right?
that's the point. You're the Ajax, or you're the Real Madrid or Barcelona, and you're like, yeah, we play every day, in the Champions League. Yeah, that's the point. I mean, the rest of the world plays in a different field, looking at you as a reference. Okay, and because I'm from Spain, I was familiar with Almeria, or basically the south of Spain, where they have this really amazing landscape full of plastic, of greenhouses for kilometers and kilometers, which is something I really encourage everybody to take a look to. And that's the garden of Europe in the winter. Most of the vegetables are coming from there. And you go there, and they're looking at the Netherlands as the reference, as the big brother that is using all kinds of high tech, all the new toys and everything to make the production per square meter amazingly. They are so jealous of that, but they cannot implement it there. And then I saw immediately something like, okay, there is a gap between what they want to do and what they're already doing here in the Netherlands. So something to connect the different ecosystems will have immense power. And this is what we're building. We're building bridges because technology, this is the funny thing, technology is a way to bridge to bridge the knowledge and to bring people together. And technology is agnostic about the country you are or the crop you are, is really, really agnostic about that. And what can work here in the Netherlands many times will work in other environments. And bringing them here, translated this to other environments, is one of the challenges I am really keen to explore. And I say Almeria, but I'm telling you, there are so many other places out there that they are really trying to thrive, and they can't. And technology that is developed here at HIC, for example, that can be exported there will be, and the impact will be amazing.
I mean, I see the connector of technology. It's an enabler for a lot of people. And then, I mean, a very practical example about that technology connects is a mobile phone.
Sure. So
that is not even,
It's a good distractor too. We can talk about that.
Like, if you look in 10 years,
yeah,
and I don't know how much I actually can ask about your own startup, because
you can do whatever you want, but
how much can you give away, right? So in what phase is the startup right now?
My startup is at the very beginning. So we are in the field trials right now. So we are trying to make some proof of concept that actually the technology that we designed at the drawing board actually works in the field. And so it's a very early stage. I would say.
A field trials means that
we are trying on plants to see if our products actually have any effect.
I see.
So we are there.
A/B testing and right.
Yeah, very simple test, just to make sure that there is a difference between what we do and what the control does. Just to show that the concept is actually working. But let me say that a good field trial has nothing to do with a success in the market, which is what many people have this in mind, which is not the case. In our case, we have investors aligned. We have the stakeholders along the chain saying, Gabino, the moment you have any good results on your trials, let's talk about products. Let's talk about business. So I know that there is a demand from the market for what we do, a unique demand. So that's why I'm tapping on that. So in the case these trials are fine, it will be more difficult for you to have an interview with me.
That's a positive thing for you.
I know, but that will be a validation of that we started from scratch with the right mentality. And this is what I'm trying to. This reverse engineering I'm talking about. That's what is lacking in the process of startups coming to the market. There should be how does it work? Is the other way around. Market driven, and then technology helping, not the other way around.
Besides the problem you're going to solve, what is another big problem in the horti industry that you say, like, well, if this is not going to be countered in the coming 10 years, we will face it will have a very negative impact?
The one I'm solving, which is the replacement, a strong word, but let's say the phasing out chemicals out of the greenhouses and the fields. That's the major. This is why I'm here. That's why I'm devoting all my energy and all the effort. I believe in a major change in agriculture once you phase out agrochemicals and you have a sustainable and biological solution. I believe in that. Which means I'm going to challenge the incumbent industry big time. And I'm fine with that. That's also something that I am comfortable thinking, how are we going to do that? How are we going to strategize that? And you're saying, okay, what else? What else is out there? And there are several. I mean, that's a good question. I think the fact that arable land is limited means that we need to increase the production per square meter. I think that's what everybody is doing right now. You see the perfect example are the greenhouses here, where production cannot be higher. You are already reaching the potential of the plant can do. You can use now gene editing to even increase further that, which is one way I can see in a few years plants adapted to the demands of the consumer. And the demands of the consumer in 10 years will be very different from now. Because one thing I found, maybe I'm from Spain, that's maybe different, but I found the consumer more and more educated about food. 10 years ago, for example, the other way around, if you talk about people saying olive oil, do you know olive oil? Yeah, I know olive oil. In Spain, they tell you which olives are they using for their olive oil. Picual, hojiblanca, they know exactly.
Which process as well.
And they are fully aware of that. And I'm talking about the people on the street. I'm not talking about people in the industry. I'm talking about the people on the street. In my dinners in Spain, they tell me about which olive they are using for the olive oil. And I'm like, that's what the consumer is changing, is the amount of information they want to know about the food they're eating is increased. There's a much more awareness on it. So you have to make it, the consumer will start demanding more and more about how the food is made, and what they put in their mouths has to meet certain standards. And that's everywhere. That's everywhere. You see it in China is happening, but it's happening in developing countries everywhere. So how are you going to meet that more and more strict demands? Basically making every square meter of arable land much more productive, much more useful to the final, what the consumer is demanding. And that needs what the KIC is doing, which is the control environmental agriculture. That's part of it, optimizing conditions per square meter. And the second one will be how the plants can be adapted to those optimal conditions. And then there is a playground on that. So I see in 10 years, for example, this optimization from both sides actually coming together. The environmental conditions and the plants adapted to those conditions. And we will hardly recognize in 10 years the plants that we are growing from the ones that we will grow.
Is there one thing we didn't talk about, Hermano, you would like to mention?
Talking about the HIC, I found it a very refreshing organization in that sense. I've been, as I said, in the circus of startups, and where everything is about the pitch, where everything is about how do you convince people to give you money to start, and that's it, and then they stop there. And that I've seen proliferating more and more and more, because it's a business model, okay, where VCs put money and then it feedbacks itself. But when you ask for the metrics of what comes out of that, is painful to talk about that, and they don't want to talk about it. And when you challenge them, they fake it somewhere else. What HIC is doing, and I think other venture studios are doing, and thinking right, is starting from the right place. And that I found different. That I found refreshing. The amount of knowledge that he has on the horticulture part is a plus. It's a plus plus. So it's rooted in knowledge. It's rooted in conversations and the network around HIC. That impressed me a lot.
Yeah, it makes it powerful that you have just one venture studio so dedicated for the horti industry.
I'll give you another quote. How can it be that, we are now, so the industry, so the horticulture, so the growers, the academia, and the entrepreneurs are sharing the same greenhouse instead of the slide decks. That's a powerful message. That's something I found that triggers me to come to participate here, because the knowledge gap between these three parties is very small. In other places, I see, as I'm saying, is usually this triangle is really, really, at least one of the parts is really far away from the others.
Yes.
Here, the three of them are together, and in the same greenhouse, actually. You see in the same greenhouse physically that they are sharing a space, and then they found out that what they think it was not. And then the practicalities come into place. And as in any startup, you pivot until you find what needs to be done to the market to actually accept you. That I found refreshing. So I think that's something I was particularly.
What can we expect from you in the venture studio in 5 years?
Well, in 5
What's
years,
the dream outcome? What's the
well,
dream outcome?
I mean, there will be a startup coming out of that. I mean, that's the all entrepreneurs in residence. We have the
Yes.
goal of actually get ideas into practice, and it's not just an exercise of the Shark Tank. You know the Shark Tank.
Yes.
It's not about being, the
Pitching.
show of the no and be controversial about that. No, it's not about. It's actually, let's see if we fall in love with ideas that are coming to the venture studio and put our hearts in that. So in 5 years, I see that I will be captivated by some of the potential ideas, and I will be leading maybe one or two of them.